Welcome to this brief video offering selected passages from my recent presentation on the future of work for HIM professionals. I'm Dr. Susan Fenton, Associate Professor and Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston, School of Biomedical Informatics.
The future for traditional HIM healthcare jobs is different. It will change our world. So what's left? Well, what's really left for us in HIM specifically is the data. Okay? Remember I talked about that 2,314, I think it was, billion gigabytes of data. But if you have that much data, we've got a lot of data, but we don't know what to do with it going on. And that's what we have in healthcare right now. So the questions are, can you manage the data from a variety of perspectives? So we've got your clinicians who need access to data. We've got your researchers who want access to data. We've got your consumers. I want access to my data. What about all of that Internet of Medical Things and getting that data into the electronic health record? How are we doing with that? But then beyond that, do you know how to access it and turn it into information? So it's one thing to say we've got all this data. It's another to say we're getting the right information to the right person at the right time. So can we incorporate the information into the daily flows for the people who need it? So especially your patients with chronic conditions, are you getting them what they need? Or conversely, are you having them report what's needed into the EHR so that they can be tracked? And I know we're getting better at this in healthcare, but I think HIM has a huge role to play in this. And then, I don't know that anybody's cracked this last one yet, but how do you try to build organizational knowledge? So a lot of times what you have are people who have a lot of experience, they've worked on different projects, they know the ins and outs of it. If they leave, you lose that organizational knowledge. So we need to be figuring out how do we keep that organizational knowledge. So how do you prepare for the future? Get over the fear. A little fear is a good thing, but there's lots and lots of opportunities. One of the wonderful things about this future of work is that because there's so much change, there's almost unlimited opportunities. But you do have to get ready to learn. We call it at our school homework for your life. I'm very clear with the students who come out of our programs that we will attempt to give them what is the latest and greatest. We do our very best to have them have the latest and greatest skills when they walk out of our door. Next year, those skills will be dated. The year after that, they'll be even more dated. And so it's not a one and done, it's a continuing development of your skills. For example, for that is in the last year, I've learned R and I've improved my skills in SQL. So continuing to build the skills. What do you need to learn? There are technical skills like I just managed. And then there are other skills that are less technical. So every time I read one of these future of work reports, not just from MIT, but from other places, there are soft skills. And these are some of those soft skills. So novel and adaptive thinking. In today's world, you're going to be asked to make decisions, and certainly without what we might consider all of the data. You're never going to have all of the data. So how do you think through problems even when you may have unknowns? And of course, the scariest is the unknown unknowns. Sense making. How do you negotiate? How do you create meaning out of new things that are happening? Can you put things together in new ways? So sense making. Computational thinking. So can you decompose a problem? Can you recognize different patterns? Can you think in the way that an algorithm might think? So if this happens, then I need to do that, or else I need to do something else. That's what's called computational thinking. Can you collaborate virtually in shared spaces and video conferences? We do a lot of document sharing here at the university, and we have WebEx just like Mahima does, and are always doing virtual collaborations. And then that cross-cultural competency, people who do not necessarily look or think like you. The way to think about that is that it's very good to have people who do not necessarily look or think like you, especially the think like you from my perspective, because very often that's what leads to creative solutions. If everybody's not in the same mindset, groupthink, it leads to creative solutions to thorny problems. Other skills, statistical skills. So basic stats are necessary to understand a lot of machine learning. You can get that from community colleges or online courses, okay? R in R Studio, R is essentially, it's like a programming language for statistics. It's free, okay? So you can go download R and R Studio. And then there are self-learning courses available from all of these sources. So you don't have to pay someone to teach you. You can teach yourself. And there are data sets that are available online for free. So you can go to the CDC and download them. You can go download limited data sets from CMS, and you can play around with them and figure out how to use some of these new tools. Programming skills. If you've never taken programming, it would be great to learn some programming. In programming, one of the best things you can learn is what is called Boolean logic. So and, or, if, then, else, so that you know how to put things together. But for SQL, you can do it in Code Academy. Some people call it SQL, some people call it SQL. It's about 50-50, there's no right or wrong. The place called Code Academy. Python programming. High schoolers are now learning Python programming. Again, you can get self-paced courses from all of these sources. So you don't have to pay a ton of money to go back to school to upgrade your skills. What about your information skills? And for those of us who are a little older, in some respects, we may be better at this than some younger people. But how to search using keywords in Google and Bing. And again, that gets back to that and or. When you're searching, what does and mean? What does or mean? How does that affect your search? What other skills might be out there? Search for job descriptions in job websites like Glassdoor and Indeed.com. So if you're thinking that you're wanting to move in a new direction, you're wanting to, become one of those data analysts if you're not already, or you just want to upgrade your skills, what skills might be in demand in your area, these sites can help you figure that out. Also, familiarize yourself with tools, with different tools. So again, they'll say, we want people who are proficient in Python or SQL or whatever, Tableau. So what are the tools? What's a programming language? Other topics that they're looking for so that you can pursue what's needed in your area. An example of how you can do this, so Johns Hopkins currently has 58 data science courses in Coursera. So there's a lot that you can learn without ever going to a university. But let's say you wanted to, formal coursework. There are massive online open courses, and I know the College of St. Scholastica does a lot of those directed to the HIM profession, but these are some other sources. There are university-based certificate programs. So what do we mean by a certificate? We mean you're looking to add some knowledge or skills to yourself, to your wheelhouse, and rather than going and getting an entire degree, you get a certificate. You know, it shows you completed something and it shows you got some new skills. And then, of course, undergraduate and graduate degrees. What if I don't want another degree? Which is a valid, you know, some people are like, I've studied enough, I think I've done enough. I just want to share with you employment percentages and earnings by educational attainment. And this is from a place called Inside Higher Ed. And I just think it speaks, you know, it's really important to look at how as your educational attainment grows, so does the percentage of people employed and certainly the earnings. And I will say, having gone back to school later in life, I've never gotten education where I regretted it. I've always enjoyed and had doors open to me because I had that additional education that I previously would not have thought could open for me. So our conclusions for today. The world is continuing to change, and it's just going to get faster and faster. And unless we get the big sunspot in the sky, we're not going to stop it. And the forces at play are substantial and well-funded. Jobs, HIM jobs that we thought were always essential and foundational are likely to disappear or change significantly in the future. If you wait until that happens, it'll be too late. So I encourage everyone to prepare now. There are many resources available, many of them free. You don't have to invest tons of money. You would have to invest time. And I just always encourage everybody to be prepared for the future.